Interviewed him before that when he was on the run from the kleptocratic authorities down in Belize, but he's back in the good old U.S. of A., and he's with the investigative reporter John Casaretto with us today, who writes for some big publications out in California. We're going to be going over exclusive John McAfee's Ultimate Hack. That's one of his articles from SiliconAngle.com, and another report, exclusive, deconstructing McAfee. And we're going to get into some big breaking news with Belize and how it ties in the United States. It was probably 6 months ago or even more when John McAfee was here, and he was in studio with us. And I was just amazed that stuff he told us 6 months before that about Ryerson and things that no one had talked about in the press turned out to be true, connected to the government and Iran down in Belize. I mean, I still aired that nightly news interview, but I was really concerned about it. Not that I was doubting him, it's just that no one had said this but him. And so now I'm really going to pay attention to what they get to at the bottom of the hour. But, guys, give us a sneak peek. I want to get into Obamacare first, and how they tried to hire you and how that later came out in the news and where you see all that's going, John. But give us a sneak peek here and tell us about this investigative journalist of what you're going to be talking about, John McAfee.
Well, basically, I came back to the States in December of 2012. I moved up to Portland. At no time has the Belizean government let go of their intent to silence me, Alex. And finally, an event happened in Portland on the 12th of September of last year of major importance to me. It was an attempt on my life. My wife was with me at the time. We have sort of been underground ever since. I've gone to the FBI. I have finally decided to release all the data, and I released it to John Casaretto. He came to visit me for a few days, spent full time pouring through all the evidence, conversations of Belizean officials, internal memos of the Belizean government, and he became a believer.
That's great. Your mic's not too good. We're going to double mics for you for a minute. Keep going.
And went back and has serialized this entire event. He wrote the first 2,400-word segment 2 days ago, and then the Deconstructing McAfee, which was basically his first contact with me, and how startling it all was to him. But I think John, when I first contacted him, was extremely skeptical. After 3 days of pouring through evidence, telephone calls with individuals and officials in Belize, he's become a firm believer. The evidence is there, and I feel I have no other choice now but to go public with it. And I think you're the first, and not I think, you are the first broadcast agency that I have talked to.
We're going to get into that at the bottom of the hour. First off, I want to get your breakdown here today on the fact that Obama did come to you, and that letter came out in the press after you reported it here first. It was confirmed. They reached out to you and others to, quote, fix healthcare.gov. And of course, you said there's nothing to fix. It's a total fraud. It's a total joke. It's not even real. And we concur with that analysis, and other programmers have said they want to make the debate about the site not working, not what a screw job Obamacare is, and it still doesn't work properly. And the people that think they're signing up aren't signing up, and now the IRS is saying they're using it to just register you to go grab your bank account. What is your take on Obamacare? What is your take on the Russia situation, the whole world? People want to know what John McAfee thinks about what's happening in the world.
Okay, first of all, it wasn't Obama himself that came.
Sure, the White House.
It was a lawyer from the House Ways and Means Committee that asked if I would consider coming and giving advice, and I said no, because my advice is simply scratch it and start over, scrap the whole thing. They wouldn't do that. I know that for a fact, and I didn't want to waste my time nor theirs, and turned them down. What do I think about the entire world? I think, Alex, that we're in a very dangerous situation in terms of privacy. The telephones that you have next to you and the telephones that each of us are carrying around with us contain applications from corporations, individuals, from the NSA, the CIA, from almost every agency. And if you look at what these applications are doing, an overwhelming majority of them are turning on your microphone, turning on the camera, accessing your emails, accessing your SMS messages, and even making phone calls on your behalf without your knowledge. We're in a very dangerous situation because we have accepted a technology that we do not understand yet. We don't understand its weaknesses. We don't understand its limitations. The Bank of America, for example, if you use the Bank of America online banking app, you will find that you have given it permission to turn on your camera and take videos and still pictures anytime that it wants. Why? Well, perhaps it's because if you empty your bank account online and then say, I didn't do it, they can say, well, we have photos of you.
But think about how Big Brother that is. We've known they've been doing that for decades, using the webcams, but they would deny it. Now it's just ubiquitous. They're just doing it.
Right, and the webcams is one thing because you don't sleep with your computer. You don't carry it with you all the time. We carry our phones with us, our smartphones. And there's an overwhelming percentage of these apps that are spying on you, and big time. So we've written an application, or I've written an application called Cognizant, which basically goes through and tells you what all of your apps are doing and gives you the choice of getting rid of them or not.
That is awesome. How do folks get that app?
It's coming out in 5 days. It's free. We're not charging anything for it. It does not have any adware, and it doesn't expire after a period of time.
Man, that's awesome, and it just tells you what's going on.
It tells you what's going on, and you're going to be shocked, absolutely shocked. And our first version runs on Android. We'll be moving into other platforms later. Android is the worst in terms of app permissions. So, people who have used it, John used it, and he was kind of shocked at, whoa, my apps are doing this, and then it gives you the option to get rid of them. But this is a serious problem because it's not just the U.S. government. We do know that NASA is putting out apps and other covert agencies, but it's corporations and individuals that are using our innocence, basically, in accepting these permissions to do anything that they want. Bank of America, what is Bank of America? It is a collection of its employees. Any employee with access to their data center can spend their lunch hour listening to what you're doing. And no matter where you are.
And it's come out that they harass girlfriends, ex-wives, husbands, that they are indeed using it to play God.
Yes, absolutely. And we're letting them. We're letting them through our ignorance and our innocence. And when I say ignorance, we're unaware of what has happened. And they don't want you to be aware.
Isn't that the big hurdle, though? They tried to deny it existed. Now it's admitted they lied. It's admitted it's huge. It's totally illegal. I think that's the beginning of the end of the system if they simply, if the people simply say no.
Well, can we say no? Here's the issue. We depend on these phones. We depend on the power. We depend on the ability to communicate and to contact our families and to voice chat and video chat. So what we need is we need legislation. We need some serious, hard looking at what's actually happening and say, listen, we have to stop this. We cannot have a total loss of privacy that is occurring. You have no concept. If you get this app and you run it on your Android system, you will be shocked. Everybody who has run it in testing has been shocked.
It ranks the apps, like how much of a threat each individual app has, a number associated with it that tells you, this app has got a ranking of 50-something, 60-something. So you can say, that app has got, a high score. I'm uncomfortable with the amount of information that's coming out of this thing, out of my phone, and, it's time to remove that. So, it's pretty neat.
Well, I can't wait till that comes out. In fact, that's what I wanted to get you on about originally was when you come out with these devices. Are you still working on a device that...
Absolutely, and the device, Decentral, is still coming, and the Cognizant app is going...
It's called Decentral.
Decentral. The Cognizant app is going to be the kernel of that. It will morph into Decentral slowly. So we are still on target. We are still working on privacy.
Well, you're the guy that launched the whole antivirus revolution. And so, it's pretty exciting to have you doing this.
I did. They, of course, changed my name now, or will be changing it soon. The Intel is changing it to just Intel Security. Not sure that's a wise move on their part, but I think my wild and crazy personality makes them nervous. So
they're going to change the name of the company you started, McAfee.
Not the company, but they're changing the name of the product.
Yeah, they're changing it to...
I think it's just called Intel Security.
What do you think now of the fact that it's come out that the FBI is indeed creating a lot of the viruses and stuff to hack into people's computers?
Well, I said this early on. This is what's happening, and this is going to simply get worse. They are taking advantage of the weaknesses in our technology. The weaknesses, the the leaks, the back doors, the ease in which someone can get into your computer and look at everything that's happening. Read your emails, read your text messages, listen to you, watch you. It can even use your phone to make calls on their behalf, and without your knowledge.
And to be clear, it's not like they're targeting one guy with a warrant with some spyware. They'll put out 10 million, computers that get infected to, quote, find one guy so that when he logs in, they know. I mean, no, that's just an excuse to spy on everybody.
It is, absolutely. And the only solution, I think, is public awareness, and we need to lobby our legislators to change the laws to make this illegal.
Well, it's just funny. The theory was always that the virus company, antivirus company makers were the ones putting the viruses out, but I've never really seen them caught doing that. It's always government that's doing it.
Well, that would be like carrying coals to Newcastle or adding water to the ocean. I mean, there are enough people out there writing viruses that antivirus companies would not need to do that. The same thing now. Anti-malware companies, it would be foolish to write malware.
Stay there. John McAfee and his investigative reporter. All right, John Casaretto is here, investigative journalist with John McAfee, who really doesn't need any introduction. And we are broadcasting worldwide on, it's already the 13th day of, hard to believe, March 2014. Time is just flying past us right now. And I want to shift gears. We'll get into some other subjects later, into now what really happened in Belize versus all these big Warner Brothers and Paramount, and they're all making movies about John McAfee. And I don't really see you being interviewed by those folks. I guess they've got a story they want to put out. But now you can give us the rest of the story. And again, when you were telling me some of the story first, when you first had come back to the U.S., I found it unbelievable. And I apologize. I didn't say I thought you were lying. I just said, man, folks, I don't know if this is true about, Ryerson and all these other stuff going on in government people. I was just, shocked by it all. And then some of that news came out about Ryerson plots and passports and Iranians. And it sounded like a James Bond movie, John McAfee. I know you've done a lot of secret black ops work for the government previously. None of that's involved this time?
Okay. Do you want to take it from here and explain, how you fell into this?
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I came into the story at a point in time where I started to interview John about his application, about some of the things that were going on, about cybersecurity, and that's what drew me into the story, because I was there at that point in time at which it was interesting. John was actually putting out ads for people to be bodyguards, and what he was trying to do was smoke out the cartel, and it just got deeper from there, right? So the cartel and the people that McAfee has that were after him and put an attempt on his life, as John described earlier, in Portland. He was trying to discover, who these guys were. They're organized, but they're not that smart. So he would put out ads. It was interesting. He actually had an interview with one of these gentlemen in a cafe, and had lunch with them. The guy never asked for the actual job, right? So a bunch of interesting stories as far as his life, along the way, and some of these things that happened as this story unfolded. But it really all goes back to those days in Belize when he was out there, and he encountered this situation with the government down there, and the selling of passports, and recorded all this information that they're after. And that's really why they're after John in the first place, is that he's got this information. He's collected this information, and we have a lot of this stuff that will be coming out in this report that is very publicly discoverable information that we've organized, and it'll be put into this thing, and that'll be forthcoming on SiliconANGLE.
The problem is when they raided my property on March the 2nd, this was the result of my refusing to pay a bribe to the local politician. And then the politician came back, with the next week saying, this is what a terrible thing to happen. I am so sorry. They shot your dog. They destroyed your property. This is so terrible. Have you reconsidered your donation? Yeah, I basically threw him off my property and went to the international press. I also donated a whole bunch of computers to the Belizean government that had keystroke locking software and software that I had put on there.
Classic Trojan horse.
Classic Trojan horse. I was hoping just to find out of hard evidence that they had planned this whole thing just to force me to pay the money. What I found out was far worse. I found out that they were selling passports. I found out that almost all of the government ministers were involved in some kind of nefarious and illegal activities. And it just went from bad to worse. They discovered what I was doing in, late September of that year, and began a serious process of intimidation. And I've given John all of this evidence. John has talked to witnesses in Belize, the people who were with me, and has verified everything that I've said. Then when Greg Fall was murdered in November, which I firmly believe now was an act of the government, they came after me for real, but not just at night, but during the day. For an entire month before the Greg Fall murder, they were trying to collect me at night. I was finding out about it because I was listening to them. I was watching them through their computers. And they never could catch me because when they would show up, I'd be somewhere else.
And I remember in all the media stuff, didn't you record them and you've released some of that before?
I released a little bit.
Just to prove it.
Here's what I'm trying to do, Alex. I'm trying to, number one, stay alive. The only thing that I have to bargain with is those recordings. The thing that I am attempting to do is to make the public aware that this is actually happening without providing enough evidence to put everybody away. I mean, there are a few people that need to be put away.
All right, long segment coming up. Let's get into as much of this as we can with John McAfee and the investigative journalist who is with us. Whoismcafee.com. Is that the best website, John?
That's the best website. Yes.
We'll be right back. I'm Alex Jones. John McAfee and John Casaretto are in studio. He's an investigative journalist. You know who McAfee is. And they are breaking down what basically really happened in Belize and how it ties into things here. But how does that tie into the ricin poison and the Iranians? Because you did say that 6 months before, it ended up coming out separate from you in the news there.
Right.
And it has come out you really did have all these, however many computers it was, that you'd handed out to all the police, the federal police there. How many computers was it total? And where's the whole ricin situation going?
It was a little over 80 computers total. The ricin situation, I don't want to discuss it at the current moment for security reasons, and I can discuss everything else, the passports, because really it all folds in. There's a huge operation in Belize, and it's getting unraveled as we speak. The Minister of Immigration, a guy named Penner, was just removed from office for selling over 150 passports, one of which was to a Korean who was in prison at the time and had never been to Belize. Now, Penner, when he was under oath, said that, yes, I had, I think you read these same reports from the Belizean News, said that, yeah, I had a meeting with the gentleman on this date. And, you know, he explained everything that was happening. Well, on that date, he was in prison in Korea. So this is how bad it gets. And Penner has been prosecuted. He hasn't been investigated. They're just letting it all slide.
You know, John McAfee, I've gotten to hang around with you quite a bit now. I've got to say, though, behind the scenes, too, why do they have that one guy on the Dos Equis Most Interesting Man? We need to get you as the new Dos Equis spokesman.
Well, actually,
they were talking about you as the CEO of Microsoft.
They were. That would be a
What about the spokesman for Captain Morgan Rum? I mean, you're a spitting image.
Actually, I just did a Most Interesting Man commercial for Quick Funder, which is
I didn't know that. See,
I did. It came out on Monday.
Aren't I a good brander?
You're a great brander.
I should do that officially.
It came out,
I know talent when I see
Monday.
it. It's almost like you started a company that made millions of dollars.
Yeah. So I did it for Quick Funder. That's a crowdfunding outfit, one of the new ones and one of the better ones in Atlanta. I like their style. I think they have, you know, probably the best security and the best approach of any of the crowdfunding outfits. So I did the Quick Funder commercial where I was the most interesting man in the world. And so
guys, will you pull up the Quick Funder commercial? I'm going to play that later.
Yeah, just go on YouTube under
because all this cloak and dagger. Now look, you did do black project stuff for the government previous to McAfee.
I did. I worked for Lockheed on a black program.
But what's the secret? Because this does sound spy-esque, CIA, defense intelligence, or corporate stuff down in Belize. I mean, were they using you as a double agent? Is there a whole nother story to this we don't know about?
Trust me, if I were a double agent, would I be on your program? I mean, I would walk out the door and it would be the U.S. government that would whack me, not the cartel.
No. I understand that, but I mean, there's also good elements of the government. In my experience, I don't think
question. There's no ultimate bad and ultimate good anywhere. There's a mixture, of course. But no, believe me, I am not affiliated. I'm not a part of any U.S. government covert operation.
No, what I'm saying, you're evading them, all the things you did, the Trojan horse computers, everything. I mean, that's real James Bond stuff. Because the real spies I've run into and FBI people and stuff, when we've been doing stories or trying to infiltrate or set us up, they are bumbling boobies compared to the work you've been doing.
Well, by and large, you're absolutely correct, and that's because they have to adhere to the formula that the U.S. government or whatever agency they're working for makes them adhere to. You have to be completely free. You've got to be, a libertarian, so to speak.
So it's the compartmentalization ruining U.S. intelligence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for example, I'm one man. I'm on my own. And by hiring, a few out-of-work, young men and women, I was able to infiltrate every branch of the Belizean government. Admittedly, Belize is
the
not
whole country.
Well, former spy masters like Dr. Steve Pachinik, they've told me the system is scared of lone men.
Yes, because we are unpredictable. I have given this man internal documents, internal memos from Belize, which are absolutely...
Well, tell us what you can tell us about your findings that are going to be rolling out and are already on your site, some of them. I mean, give us in a nutshell what's going on. What happened, the group's tracking you.
Okay, the biggest thing that I discovered and the biggest thing they're trying to cover up is the selling of passports and the bringing of questionable people into America through a very complex route. You can, let's say I'm Iranian or from Pakistan, and I want a new identity. I can come to Belize and pay anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000. I get a new identity, usually from someone who's died. My name is Muhammad Allah, and suddenly my new name is George Smith. And I have a passport proving I am George Smith. With that passport, I am free to move throughout all of Central America. All of Central America, unimpeded.
So they're creating fake identities on an international scale out of Belize, and that's come out.
Yes.
And it's a major rat line.
Absolutely. And so to get into America, if I want to do it, unbeknownst to America, I wander up to the southern border and get a mule to bring me across. And the cartels help with that. That's public knowledge. I mean, you've seen many reports in Belize where this is actually happening. The Belizeans know, but nobody else in the world is reading the reports. No one else even cares, it seems.
Did you see any evidence that the U.S. or any other major government has its own people down there jacking into their database to know who these people are, or they don't even care?
Well, certainly they know who they are. The Treasury Department keeps, for example, an organization chart of like the Sinaloa cartel, all the cartels, the Medellins, and in that organization.
But sure, I mean the people they're bringing across. Because we had the head Iranian general say last month, we have sleeper cells in America. Yes. And we will attack you in asymmetrical warfare.
Yes, absolutely. And where do you think these sleeper cells are coming from? They don't fly in.
But you said a year ago on my show, you said Iranian sleeper cells are coming through with ricin, and now you don't want to talk about it.
Well, forget the ricin. They are coming through, and they have more than just ricin, Alex. There's all kinds of things that they are bringing with them. I can't talk about the ricin right now. I'm very sorry that I can't. I am sort of fighting for my life. I understand. Yeah. I am dancing a very delicate dance.
You've already got cartels after you. You don't want the Iranians after you.
I don't want the Iranians after me, sir. Okay, it's bad enough as it is. So now, but forget that part. We still have the importing into America of foreigners with questionable motives on a mass scale. We have this one man selling 150 passports in a very brief period of time. We have group, it's like, okay, if you come to us with 50 people, we'll give you a group discount. I mean, it's astonishing. And these 150 were just the 150 that were discovered. You know that it's much more than this. So this is a serious problem. No one's talking about it. It's public knowledge everywhere else in the world. Public knowledge. But here in the States, it's like, well, let's not talk about this.
John Casaretto, investigative journalist. You've been burrowing into this for a long time. I looked you up, done a lot of great reports in the past. Much of what he said has been already verified. But what else have you verified in his story? What do you think about it?
Well, I think the big thing here is, to me, there's been, these passports is the big issue here is that, we're hoping by doing this report that we can look at this evidence and start to bring this into the open. So perhaps people will further report this, will further look into this and start to ask questions. Why isn't anybody talking about this thing? Why isn't anybody talking about, the way these agencies are operating and pretty much neglecting, the security of this country at the border. And these guys are, it's very similar to the app. You have a passport, you can pretty much walk over the border and come into the country, and do whatever it is that you do in this country. And it's the same thing with the Cognizant and the app. If you allow it to happen, then it's wide open. We're
being told give all our rights up because terrorists are everywhere, and then they leave the doors basically wide open.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And nobody wants to report it because it's hurtful. It's hurtful to the image that we're strong and we're secure. And, I think that people should start talking about this thing, particularly in this case where there's evidence that shows there's a country, not that far away from here that's selling passports, that, there's been incidents of Chinese nationals, of people of Middle Eastern descent showing up and showing up, being apprehended. And it turns out that their passports are fake, and they're
policing. And yet it's all over Central America. But here in the States, we have no reports of that. You have to actually go in and dig into the old copies of Mexican and Belizean newspapers to find instances of Hezbollah that were actually arrested in Mexico with Belizean passports with European names, Mike Smith and Terry Jones. It's absurd. And yet here in America, do you read about it? Is it in the New York Times? Is it in the Wall Street Journal? Is it in the local people here in Austin?
Why do you think, because you were nodding your head earlier, John, whenever I mentioned that in Press TV, the official Iranian news, their chairman of their Joint Chiefs, their head guy said, we have sleeper cells, we have asymmetrical warfare, we can strike America inside. That was an outrageous statement. It didn't even get picked up in the U.S. news. That'd be like if our chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dempsey, said, we have sleeper cells in Iran. We can attack you from within. That would be sensational. But they're not talking about it. It's like every time there's real terror threat, they won't discuss it. If it's fake and made up, it's just constant hype. That's what I've noticed. What do you think's going on there, John?
Well, I think that, clearly there's a lot of issues right now with this NSA and this government surveillance. They want a license to continue to surveil us, to watch everything that's going on using these phones, intercepting your communications, your phone communications, your GPS location, and all of these things. So, we're at kind of a strange point, I believe, that where I think that, there's not a lot of attention being paid to actual, investigative, ferreting out these operations that could be going on right here, right, in different cities around the country. All these different organizations that have infiltrated us and are here, sleeper cells, as you say. I think that's a big issue.
We find out that the NSA is writing apps that get into our smartphones, that listen to us and watch us and read our emails, and it's sort of like, oh, gosh, that's bad. We don't realize what that actually means. Do you have any privacy at all if you're carrying a telephone around that when it sleeps, it's not really asleep? The app has made it so that it's not sleeping. The app is listening and watching. And it's not just one agency. It's many hundreds of agencies and corporations around the world. Even foreign governments are doing it. Russia. Russia will go to our trade shows here in the States and just pass out thumb drives and applications. We know for a fact that many of those are doing exactly the same thing that the NSA is doing. We have no privacy whatsoever.
Well, I was about to say Snowden runs over to Russia, and I think it's fine, and I think he's a hero overall. But at the same time, Russia is pioneering spying on their people real time, and they're famous with hacking and malware and stealing. The Russian mafia, that's basically the Russian government. Half the time we see issues on the internet, it's the Russians. So briefly talk about your view of Snowden and the Russians, that whole issue.
Well, Snowden, it depends on how you look at Snowden. He is certainly a hero for telling me and you and everyone else what's actually happening. Legally, he's a pariah. Legally, the U.S. wants to prosecute him. I'm glad that he told us, quite frankly. If he had not, we would still be in the dark about many issues. In terms of Russia, Russia is winning the spy war. They have organized hackers. They even have refrigerators now that have been found that have internet connections and microphones in them that can listen to you. This is bizarre. Toasters. Any electronic device that has a chip in it is going to be...
If it has the name Smart on it, run from it.
Absolutely. But what are we going to do? Throw the refrigerators out? we need to be smarter about the situation that we're in. It's kind of like we're being swallowed by the snake, and we're fiddling and dancing. We need to be aware of what's happening. If we're not, then there is no hope, is there?
Well, absolutely. Look at the Syrian Electronic Army, which we know a lot of them are Russians. I mean, they have just been hacking everything, exposing everything. And what's sad is Russia doesn't have the moral high ground. They're incredibly corrupt.
No.
But then I look at the U.S. government. They're so bad now and so run by multinational corporations that are even more amoral than the Russians.
Right.
At least the Russians stick up for Russians.
But see, the multinational corporations don't even need the spy agencies anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Alex, what's
well, you're
happening?
the expert. Talk about it.
No, right. They will willingly provide applications that make your life easier and you're glad to use, and inside those apps are the same things that the NSA is trying to do. So they don't even need the government anymore. We are allowing them to spy on ourselves by our acquiescence.
It's a revolution against privacy, and now they admit, and I want your take on this, that Google can predict mass movement futures. Yes. Amazon knows what you're going to order before.
Yes.
If you know what people are doing, you know the future, and then you can manipulate people with that data to control the future.
Right. Now, you mentioned Google, and I use Google as much as anyone. However, you have to look at the truth here. Google makes money by companies knowing what you're doing, obviously. You know, by providing companies your buying habits, when you wake up, what you wear, where you work, they can sell more stuff to you, Alex. And by selling more stuff to you, Google gets its percentage. Google has no interest in privacy. Privacy is the end of their growth. So this is another two-edged sword. We need information. I need information. We all do, and we use that information. It's a very powerful service, but it seems to be a powerful service without a heart and soul.
Wow. Continuing with your case, say if you had 5 minutes, John, and you were trying to explain to, say, mainstream dinosaur media the history of John McAfee, who he is he for real, what's happened to him, what would you say?
Well, I think the world will have to decide whether I'm for real, and it's why I allowed John to come and spend 3 days pouring through a mountain of government internal memos for release and conversations to find, so that he could find it for himself without me having to explain it to him.
Yeah, and the first time I met John, it was in a cafe. I brought a friend with me, and John sort of floated into the room, and there he is with a trench coat. He's got the glasses. He's looking scruffy and a hat, and he kind of floats into the room, and he goes, "I want the chair against the wall." Sits against the wall, turns off his phone. We all turn off our phones, and we're sitting there. And he starts to talk. And at first, I wasn't even sure it was him, because he's like looking around the room. The man was on the run. I didn't know it then. I mean, what brought me into this whole thing was the value of decentral, the value of giving people the power back to know what's going on with their phones, to know what's going on with their information, and the prospect of being decentralized so they can't track you, so you can communicate, so you can exchange things without, the third big brother watching. This was something that I wanted to write about. And we were talking about China as well. We were talking about all these cyber wars going on and these different governments putting these things together and, attacking corporations, American corporations, spying on American citizens and these kinds of things. It was a great conversation. And, and then we started to get in a little bit more of John's story about, a little bit about what's happening.
Stay there. I want to hear that when we come back.
Okay.
And by the way, we're doing a whole hour of Overdrive after this because I had a meeting about the new website design, but we'll have to back up to 3 because I want to shift into some other subjects after we talk about this. John McAfee and John Casaretto. Finally getting that right?
Yes.
The 50th time. Anyways, great to have you both here. This is a short segment. We're about to end this hour. Finish your story about getting to know John McAfee because strange days are definitely here. Our government's trying to start war with Russia. The NSA spying on everyone. Obama wants, to screw everybody with Obamacare, and we're hanging out with John McAfee, the very interesting person.
Yeah, definitely. I was telling a story about how I met him. I was with my friend, good friend Eddie Mize, a great artist out of Denver, and so we went down there. He's also an InfoSec guy. We start talking about security. And we make our way outside, and it was everything that we expected. I talked to John McAfee before on the phone, and it was a great conversation. And so we go outside, and we start to talk, and he goes, "Hey, I've got some recordings I want to play for you." So we sit in my friend Eddie's car, And he starts to play these audio recordings, and it was an investigator who was telling John on the phone, I've uncovered some information that says the attempt on your life that happened in Portland was a $2 million contract that was put forward. It was put into place through the cartel, through the Sinaloa cartel. And then there was a second contract when that attempt was not successful. John's interlacing this with the introduction of this story at this time that all this stuff happened to him and Janice. There was a second contract for $650,000, and John stops it and he goes, I find that insulting that my life is only worth $650,000.
Really, $2 million. I mean, I know some of the cartels just to be grandiose have big contracts, but that, I mean, 600,000 is a lot.
Well,
I found it insulting.
You can get somebody killed for 10 grand.
That's true.
He found that insulting.
I'm slippery, maybe.
So I understand, yeah.
That leads to the deconstructing McAfee story. You know, everything I've ever read about John in the press, you know, it was my impression that, you know, John was this wild man. He was a party man that, you know, preposterous if you really think about it.
Yeah, when you really get to know him, he's not really being paranoid. He's super smart. The question is he manipulating you?
Yeah, I've thought about
I mean, he does come off a little bit like El Diablo.
Yeah.
You know, if I wanted to cast somebody to play the devil, I'd get John McAfee.
Well, let me tell you something. we're standing there.
I'm just joking, John. You're a really good guy. I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Actually, if I could call in, I have some questions for myself.
All right, we're going to be right back. We're coming back. Stay there. All right, we're going to come back and talk about this. No, everything John's been talking about keeps coming true. I mean, I believe it. I think he's a good guy. We'll be right back. All right, John Casaretto, investigative journalist, is hanging out with us here in studio with John McAfee, who is a very interesting person, especially in person when you're out hanging out with him in the hill country shooting firearms. And he's here with us today visiting during South by Southwest. Long segment is coming up after this. Then I'm going to give the number out. We just gave it out and take phone calls for McAfee and John Casaretto, who's with him. So, John, finishing your story, you said it gets really interesting here. You're in the car. He's playing recordings of the investigator, you know, saying, no, yes, you know, there was the $2 million hit, the $600,000 hit on you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there were a number of calls like that were actually naming names and things like that that would come out in the report. So we get out of the car for some fresh air, right? And we're standing there in the parking lot. His phone rings. John's got 8 phones on him. He's reaching, you know, on his pockets, pulls one out, finds the phone, you know, and then he decides, I'm going to put this on speakerphone, puts it on speakerphone, and it's a security guy. And the security guy is saying, yes, we are going to put this bulletproof glass all in your house. We're going to arm the walls. We've got armor going up all around your place. And the machine guns, you know, will be, you know, should we move the carpet? You know, this whole thing. And John's going, yes, I need this stat. I need this immediately, you know. And my friend Eddie and I are looking at each other. We're like, is this even real? Like, it just got really weird. You know, we're talking about something, and then it goes into, you know, these contracts. And now there's a guy that's, you know, arming his house who's building it up so that it can take on a 50 caliber weapon. And then John hangs up. He looks at us. He goes, well, I'm ready for anyone who comes, you know, and, you know, they can shoot at me all they want. I'm going to be sitting there and I'll be shooting back, laughing. So, you know, we walk out of there thinking, you know, this is really just an incredible situation. You know, what a personality, you know, how much of it is true. I start to look into it. You know, there were names that were given out in those recordings. And that's when I first started approaching John. You know, hey, John, I looked at this and I looked at, you know, these names. Every time somebody ever talks about John, it's always these ridiculous stories about, you know, for some of these things to be true, you would have to think that one day I'm going to build a company, and my ambition is to have this company, sell it for $100 million, and then I'm going to go to the third world and set up a meth lab. And it's pretty preposterous to think that this would be true, but people are accepting this. And articles that come out, this is what they say, you know.
No, he was smart down there, openly setting up a supplement lab, which is anybody that's smart, that's what it's all about.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Setting up a meth lab in Central America, by the way, is like putting a gun to your head and pulling the trigger. You know, the cartels, that's their business. You know, a gringo doesn't go down there and start a meth lab.
So,
I mean,
you know,
that's insane.
The bottom line is John's always gotten kind of this rap, like it's always this air of, you know, wanted for murder. Well, he's never been officially, nobody's ever said he's wanted for murder. They want to ask him questions. Why? Because they want to bring him back down there. They want him back down there so they can do what they're going to do. And as John reports, as John states, they want him gone. So the attack on your life, I think we should talk about. Portland. There was an interesting coincidence that was written in that article. Series of coincidences that happened. His bodyguard had gotten arrested, and he had gotten reports from his security that. Well, I'm going.
You told me this 6 months ago when you were here. You told me not to talk about it.
Actually, I didn't tell you. It hadn't happened 6 months ago.
Well, what was it? 4 months ago?
I don't know. But
when was it you were last year? Because you told me about the October 21st.
Oh, right. It was just after that, as a matter of fact. But I didn't say anything about it, really. I had nothing direct. Basically, here's what happened. A report came out in an Irish newspaper that John McAfee had died of a drug overdose in a Las Vegas hotel. They even named the doctor.
No, I saw that. Stay there. 12-minute segment coming up. You'll be able to really break it down, tie all the pieces together.
You bet.
No, but you were just telling me about the folks coming in and what happened at night and having to hide and all that.
Mm-hmm. But I told you off the air, I think.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So I remember you telling me about this.
Right, I did, off the air.
But I'm not going to tell any of the story because I don't know how much we can tell. Now, we've got John McAfee here with us, and we've also got investigative journalist. Plug your website. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I want John to go back and have the floor here and talk about the attempted hits on he and his wife.
Yeah, I'm the security editor for SiliconANGLE, and our publication is all about technology, and I cover security. We're
John
Casaretto, and I've got... our operation is some 20, 25 people and growing, and it's a great operation. We do live events through this thing we call the Cube. We got a number of great people that do all the work, all the production. It's like ESPN. We call ourselves kind of like the ESPN of tech. So we'll go to like tech events. We're number one on all these topics like crypto coins.
I know who you guys are. Yeah.
Yes. Number one on big data and all these great things. So I'm following security stories all the time. It's why I came to Mr. McAfee, and I'm covering all the things that are coming out about his testimony.
And bottom line, you found him to be credible and believe his story.
Absolutely.
And have verified a lot of it.
There comes a certain point, Alex, where you've got to go with your gut. You got to go.
Well, plus, you've been privy to a lot of stuff that hadn't been released.
Absolutely. There's a lot more that will be coming out about this in terms of.
So it's not just your gut. You verified a lot of it.
Absolutely. Well, that's how I got into it, of course. Yes. But I've heard so many things. I mean, I heard phone calls before we walked in here that, he played another recording for me that was really interesting. And, there's hours of recordings. I spent 3 days with Mr. McAfee at his location up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, remote, secure. And we went through tons and tons of documents, shell companies, 300 some companies, guys switching seats, like, same three guys moving around all these different companies. And, all through this whole network that is, requesting visas, that has companies out in Belize that are connected to this attempt on Mr. McAfee's life, as he reports.
Now, what can you do, John? I mean, do you release it all so they have no reason to kill you? Or then do they want a revenge killing because of it? Or do you say, look, I've already tried to report this. The government doesn't care. I'm dropping it. I've destroyed it all. You'll never hear from me again.
They're not going to believe that last statement that you'll never hear from me again. And they will get back at me just for revenge. Here's my strategy. I am trying to dance on a tightrope. I think the best thing that I can do is to release just enough information to make the public and the government aware of what's happening. Number two, there are one or two people who really do need to be arrested, all right? I intend fully to release everything about those individuals. Others, perhaps the more powerful people than the government, I have retained a lawyer who is going to already has taken charge of the evidence, all of the evidence, all of 17,000 hours of recordings and documents and what have you, and have given the same evidence to a number of other people. The lawyer is in the process of writing a letter to the Belizean government saying, if I do not hear from Mr. McAfee by 2 p.m. every day with a password, he has instructed me to release this full documentation to the press, which implicates every single person within the Belizean government. Now, I believe that they have enough common sense that they will let the few people that really need to be arrested, the ones that I think did the most crimes against me, to let that happen, and I will just keep quiet for the rest of my life. And as long as nothing happens to me, nothing will happen to them. But believe me, the information that I have will bring down the entire Belizean government. They know this, and this is why they are so desperate to silence me. It's too late to silence me. The evidence is in the hands of other people now.
Well, just like I told the D.C. madam, you have not told me any of what that evidence is. You had just told me about one of the attempts. I guess you were here like a week after it happened.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Now, I have full evidence on those things, which I've given to John. What happened was, first of all, the first clue, and it should have occurred to me at the time, was there was a report of my death. Okay, John McAfee died of a drug overdose. And I got a call at 8 o'clock in the morning from a friend, and they were in tears. And I go, what? And it just went all over the net. It was weird. I put out a tweet saying not true. In fact, I woke up feeling fine, or I went to bed feeling fine.
Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated?
Greatly exaggerated. Within 12 hours, my security guards get arrested, mysteriously. 12 hours later, at 2:15 in the morning on the 12th of September, and I was up because I was anticipating. I have contacts still within the government. I was anticipating. I didn't know the exact date, but I knew it was coming soon. I was up and watching at 2:15. 2 police motorcycles. Now, this is at night where police do not really use their motorcycles after dark. 2 police motorcycles followed by a sedan full of plainclothes people, followed by a garbage truck, the compressing variety.
They were going to put you in that.
Maybe. I have no clue. But they pulled up right in front of my condo, and there is no back exit. There is only one exit, and that is through the front. I ran and I grabbed my wife. We ran downstairs to the garage. I wanted to hide in the trash bins, the big things, thinking maybe we'd be safe. My wife refused. So we climbed. We have in the condo was a car stacking elevator where you drive your car in, it puts it on the second floor, and then you drive others in, up and down. We climbed up on the second floor, hid under a car, both of us together, for 5 hours. We were not under there for a minute before we heard the running up and down the stairs and excited voices, and then they came into the garage, but very stealthily. They looked into the garbage room. I'm rumored to be armed and dangerous, and I think they didn't want to just open the thing. They were talking. We could hear them talking, and they were there for about an hour before the garage truck came in. The garbage truck came into the garage. They rolled the bins, they lifted up, dumped it, compressed it, both bins, and drove off. We waited 2 hours till after everybody had gone. We ran and got our things, and we left, and we haven't been back.
Why not lay in wait with a assault rifle? And might have been cops, but they're coming to kill you.
It may have been real cops, okay?
That's what you told me right after it happened. You said, might have been cops with a warrant. How did you know?
Yeah, I didn't. But cops with a warrant do
Say, warrant!
Yeah, cops with a warrant do not try to compress you in a garbage truck. And you don't show up at 2:15 in the morning.
And it wasn't garbage day either.
And it was not garbage day.
They didn't get everybody else's garbage.
They didn't get it, yeah. So it was not garbage day, and then...
I got to say, that does sound like how those hits work. And that's why you'd need $2 million, is they wanted all official, covered up.
Right.
You hire the cops.
And the reason that that was...
and you can't get the cops to take part in a hit in every city. I know you can in Houston.
I think you can in every city.
Well, they got cops that kill people in most big cities,
right?
But they usually work for organized crime. It's saying not every city has the police chief being part of it.
Oh, right. Well, I don't think the police chief was part of this, but certainly the cops were part of it. These were legitimate cops on legitimate motorcycles. Sure. All right.
Well, the big thing. Most hitmen are cops. I mean, in major cities.
That is true. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think in almost all cities you find this. But the
general public doesn't know.
I think the reason that they put out a report that I was dead is so that everybody's going, oh my God, McAfee died. And McAfee says, no, that's not true. So if McAfee does disappear the next day, no big deal. They're not going to pay much attention.
No, that's how they do it. It just creates confusion.
It creates confusion, and therefore people don't pay much mind to it. Because really, if I were just to disappear out of the clear blue sky, people are going to talk. But if the day before, there was a big article saying I died of a drug overdose.
You're really smart. I mean, obviously you're a smart guy. I've been told by high-level Army officers that when I see these stories that I've been killed or disappeared, that's when I've got to be careful, because they'll do that right before they disappear me.
You've actually heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, and I've had family that worked in black ops. And in the muscle end of things, and they told me that.
No one told me. I just figured it out. Really?
Well,
there's some verification.
Oh, no, that's definitely true.
I can believe you as much as you can believe me.
No, that's true. That's true, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think a big thing is, how did this all come together? And one of the interesting coincidences that John has reported, and you can check this out, the country of Belize, for the first time in that country's history, traveled abroad to what city? Portland, where John McAfee is living,
To play soccer.
to play soccer in a soccer game. And the team is like, part-time carpenters.
Yeah, it's not even a real team.
Yeah.
They lost to the U.S. 6-0. They had no chance at all.
I think it was 6-1.
And this is the first time. Now, why would they come to Portland, Oregon, where I'm living? Get real. And this was 2 months before the hit, or the attempted hit.
Right.
Classic double down as an investigation, but call it a soccer game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Find out where he lives.
Now, that's
Put all the pieces
it's hard, but people go, no, they didn't go to Portland. Check it on the internet. They did.
ESPN.
Again, that is speculation. Undoubtedly, though, them coming to these people that came to your place, that is amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
And now you're in an armored redoubt.
I am in a location where I can guarantee you no one is going to get close to me. So, and I am angry. I've stopped being afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. I am pissed off. I am seriously.
Yeah, last time you were here, you had a pretty serious guy with you going around with you everywhere.
Yeah, well, I've got a whole bunch of serious people around me now, and they are serious people, and I'm serious myself. I swear I am pissed off. Just come for me. That's the attitude I have. I know that's nonsense, and I know
that's my attitude.
So
hell, that's the only attitude you got to have in life.
So what else can you have? Because I am seriously pissed, and I'm in a part of the world where anybody who comes they're going to stand out. They're going to stand out big time. And I am.
Well, it's always safe to be with a bunch of hillbillies.
I'm a good old boy from the South.
Hillbillies, hillbillies are where to be.
I was raised in the Appalachian Mountains.
Stay there. We're going to come right back to you. John McAfee with us for the balance of the hour with the investigative journalist who's with him, who, of course, writes for the site siliconangle.com. And we appreciate both of you gentlemen joining us here today. As promised, we're going to phone calls. But, John, what brought you to South by Southwest?
I didn't come to South by Southwest. I came to see you, Alex.
Well, I'm flattered.
We had I talked to John about what our strategy would be. He's going to write the first 2 chapters of maybe a 20,000-word report, and then we needed to go and talk to somebody live. And I said, Alex Jones. He said, why Alex Jones? I said, number one, he's a friend, and number 2, he has an extraordinarily loyal listener base. And what we need are people that will believe us, and we'll get this story out.
I mean, I've got to point out, you were in Belize on the run, and the 2 interviews you did because your friend told you to do it was Alex Jones and Joe Rogan.
That's it. That's absolutely.
And I can tell you, Joe's for real, too. He's a great guy.
No question.
He's certainly a character. Have you met him in person yet?
I have not. I enjoyed talking to him.
You should do his podcast. I've known him since like 1998 when he finished news radio. So, I mean, he's just an awesome guy. You guys ready to go to phone calls?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
This is a short segment, 18-minute segment coming up after this. Chris is in Massachusetts, and he's retired military, wants to talk to John McAfee. Thank you for calling in. You're also talking to John Casaretto, who's an investigative journalist. Go ahead.
It's a real honor and pleasure to be able to address all 3 of you. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart because the oath of loyalty was taken by myself and as other military. All military take it to defend a constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I've realized over time that this cutting edge that I listen to on this show with guests like yourselves, Alex, you and your staff, are defending the true government of the Republic. Our government of the Republic is one of the Constitution, and anything that feigns to take away our constitutional rights, which government is supposed to protect, is not our true government. And so I want to thank all of you gentlemen for seeking to save the true government. And I want to thank you for your loyalty to the true government of the United States, which is one of a constitutional representative republic.
Well, God bless you, sir. I don't want to live under the globalist tyranny. You're absolutely right. These are domestic enemies that are trying to claim those of us that want to live in the Republic are the enemy. John McAfee, your comment on that?
Yeah, Chris, I want to thank you for your comments, sir. It brought tears to my eyes.
He had a lot of authority in his voice.
He did, and you do, Chris. I'm putting my own life on the line here because without freedom, we don't have a life. And thank you for your comments, sir.
Absolutely. God bless you. Anything else, Chris?
Just briefly, I've been out on the street in Massachusetts for a year and a half with signs, placards that I make of my own. There's well over 150 of them if you don't count double sides. And a lot of horns, a lot of thumbs up, and a lot of thumbs up when I have Infowars.com, too. So Massachusetts, we're still in the 50 states, we're loyal to the true government of the United States, just as you men are. And I'm very, very happy and honored to be in your company.
God bless you, brother. Yeah, I'm loyal to George Washington. You know, that's the type of thing I'm loyal to, not this New World Order, sell everybody out, dishonorable. I'm loyal to people that are honorable, and you can believe what they say, because that's really all there is in this world. Like Tony Montana says, there's only two things in this world.
We all know what that is.
Anyways, let's take another phone call. Another Chris. Chris in Canada, you're on the air with John McAfee. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Quick question, John. Is there any evidence that there might be British involvement with this Belize passport thing, considering that they are the former British Honduras?
I have no evidence whatsoever that links Britain in any way to the sale of passports, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So never heard any chatter about that. I guess they left by the late 80s. I know when I was a kid going down there, you saw jump jets and British troops.
The British troops have since left.
Yeah, when did they leave?
Maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's go ahead. It's just weird to see jump jets and British troops in Central America. Go ahead, Ernie in California. You're on the air. We're going to break in 1 minute, but go ahead and get your question out.
All right, hey.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
John?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
All right, hey, I'm really glad he's in the pissed mode, because that's going to save his back. And I want to thank him for coming out with that software when it comes. And that one question I have for you gentlemen, the Malaysian flight that went down, 4 of the top chip makers were from Freestyle Semiconductor or something like that. Now that they're gone, that patent goes to Cargill. I know that's a
Carlyle Group, really?
I wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, there were a bunch of top tech people on that plane. We're going to come back with John McAfee and his investigative journalist is with him, John. We'll get their take on this. I want your take on the Malaysian flight. Right. Glad that caller called in. Thank you, Ernie. Peter, Stephanie, and others. Toll-free number to ask questions unscreened. Just make sure they're addressed to our guest. 800-259-9231. I'm Alex Jones of Infowars.com. Now confirmed the U.S. government spying on Matt Drudge. That story on Infowars.com. Hey, guys, before I forget, John McAfee's here with us, ladies and gentlemen. Any websites, Twitter accounts, Facebooks, anything you want to plug, anything you want to say that you've forgotten to say before we answer the question about the missing Malaysian flight that's the big mystery right now, and then go back to phone calls.
All right. Well, what I want to say is everybody out there, take responsibility for the technology that you own and realize that the risks that you are putting yourself under by not being aware of all of these risks. So download the Cognizant app, run it on your phone. You're going to be shocked at what you find out.
I can't wait because I already know what's running on it. And it's incredible, but I guess it's all right there. And I've seen reviews, people have seen it. It shows everything right there in real time. So it's just like your antivirus software would show you the viruses. This shows you all the spy links. And
Yeah. What it does, it's not in real time. You run it, and it will tell you which of your applications are doing what. You get to choose at that moment. You don't have to wait for them to actually be spying on you.
It tells you what they do. It's like a scan. Yeah.
It tells you what they do before they do it, and then you can choose at that point to.
That way, you don't have to read 20-page contract and find the fine print written in Martian.
Absolutely.
To explain what they're doing.
Yeah, and John's like a forefather of giving away software and then claiming it on the back, monetizing that on the back end. So it's a lot of things that he invented antivirus, but he's also invented basically the way everybody does with these apps.
Yeah, what do you think of Dr. Stallman and his free software movement?
Well, Dr. Solomon is a nice British gentleman, and we're talking about Dr. Solomon in England.
No, Solomon. Stallman, we had him on the other day, the Genu guy. Yeah, Richard Stallman.
I think he's a very nice guy.
Yeah, but I mean, he's into the free software. Go ahead.
Yes, same thing. So I basically invented to give the software away for free, and almost everybody does that now, although most of them it's not really free. You get to use it for a month, and then they shut it down. But I believe that once people see the value of something down the road, maybe they'll just pay for maintenance, or they'll buy the next product that you come out the door with. So, I'm not out to make a fortune right now.
I never did that on purpose. I wanted my films to be seen because I wanted to prove the things I was saying. Another talk show had a coffee cup or a newsletter they had to make money and pay their bills and have a crew. I made documentaries, which probably aren't the best in the world production-wise, but content, it's good info. and I would let people copy them when nobody else would.
Yes.
And that built a huge
Space.
listenership.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't doing it on purpose. Then later, like, branders and marketers went, look at his genius plan to get everybody early. But I was just doing the right thing.
You were. Stumbled into it. It's your heart. You're following your heart. If you follow your heart, you're going to make money. This is a fact.
See, I want to have a conversation with you about that, because you're a really interesting guy. I mean, what makes you tick? British father, American mother, right? Or was it vice versa?
No, it's American father, British mother. My father was an American soldier during the war.
That's right, and then came back to the Appalachians. That's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up. Yeah, I'm not sure what makes me tick. I care about people. I care about relationships. I love a lot, and if you love, you get hurt, and I'm willing to risk all those things.
That's right, but I feel sorry for all those cold-blooded people that are sociopaths, and they think they're so cool because they don't have any heart, but they're totally unfulfilled people.
I agree fully, and the world is full of sociopaths now because people spend all of their time connecting with their smartphones, and I've seen people text each other at the same table. It's like, it's insane.
You're right. In fact, I was reading a study on that. It's artificially making people more sociopathic.
And more isolated.
Artificially, because you're pretty much born a sociopath, they think. This is artificially making people dehumanized. You're a tech guy. What do you think of that, John?
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the things. I mean, we've had some conversations. John was actually at this conversation. We were talking to a guy who was pretty deep in some of these operations, government operations, and he was talking about, at some point we're going to have to come back to a nonverbal form of communication, because they can intercept everything. They're intercepting, conversations. They can pick it up in the streets when you're walking around. People are going to have to figure out a way to get back to basics when, as they say, SHTF, right? How can people take their privacy back, take their freedom back, and that's one of the things that we talked about at that point. And I think that, we're becoming very dependent on these technology devices. I use it, and I certainly enjoy it. It's kind of like, this balance act.
It's like the Borg are assimilating us.
Yeah.
They're just rolling it out. We're accepting it, and it's becoming ubiquitous.
Yes.
Yeah, well, my phone tells me, hey, it's time to leave for your flight. This is when you have to leave to make it to the
It's time to take protein shake.
Yeah.
It's time to make a left turn here, so that we're not even aware of where.
Well, it's all my
we are,
crew that knows how to really use all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get me in shape and stuff. So it's like 7:30, time for protein shake. 8, time for workout. And they're all feeding me data, and it's like bing, 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 bing. It's like...
And I like it, and I hate it, because you become dependent on it, right? I mean, I remember when I first, I don't even know anybody's phone number. It's all in my Google contacts.
Oh, used to I could memorize numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Used to I could do math in my brain. Now I literally can't do math. I'd use the calculator.
I don't even know my own phone numbers. This is a fact. And that's how tragic it's become.
Yeah.
We are Borgs without the metal implants. We carry the implant in our hand.
Well, that's coming. All right.
Exactly. I got to talk about some news breaking on DrudgeReport.com. Showdown, Kerry gives Russia Monday deadline. And the Ukrainians are asking NATO to basically attack the Russians. The Russians are massing troops on the border. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs said they're prepared to militarily respond. This is crazy town.
Well, war is money, Alex.
Yeah.
It is money. It's how we jump ahead rapidly through war.
And then look at this under it, even creepier. Homeland monitors Drudge Report. Details of DHS media monitoring capability program revealed. Newly obtained document revealed under the Freedom of Information Act confirms the Department of Homeland Security keeps tabs on Drudge Report as part of its media monitoring program. It's worse than that, folks. We have documents, and that's why they've sued to get them, to get the full documents, that they're spying directly and telling TSA, to basically that this is a threat. The Drudge Report's evil, and that I'm evil. But it shows that they're not as powerful as people think they are if they're scared of news websites.
Right, absolutely. Information is power. It is power. And the more information we have, the more powerful we become. How powerful did we become when we found out that the NSA was spying? We became very powerful, because we became pissed off. We became frightened. And no one wants that. People want the populace to be at ease. And
sedate while they roll over us.
That's it, basically it. And so when we stop being sedated, they panic. This is the fact.
That's the name of the game. They want to sedate us. They want to calm us, so we just quietly slip off into Neverland. Gentlemen, I want to get into that question. What do you think's going on with this Malaysian flight? It's like 5 days or whatever it's been missing, 6 days? What's going on here?
Well, either it was picked up by a flying saucer, which I doubt very seriously, or there's something nefarious going on. I believe we're going to find out that there is criminal activity involved, possibly a hijacking.
Remember when the Chinese forced down that AWAC to steal its technology?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of top tech people on the plane. What do you think?
Yeah, what was on that plane?
What was on that plane? A bunch of top tech people, number one. So either it went down and someone benefited, or maybe it's innocuous. Maybe it just had a mechanical error. However, why would it be changing directions? This is the issue.
My gut tells me it's either a hijacking or a government remote controlled it, which they admit are on those planes, and landed it as a tech heist.
Could be. Could be. I do believe there's criminal activity. I think that will, that's another thing we can test McAfee and his intuition or his information.
Well, that's the Chinese did that with the AWAC that time.
Absolutely.
And this plane's flying by China and it just disappears.
Well,
Absolutely.
There was like fake passports and stuff involved too. I've seen a couple stories around that.
Back to fake passports.
Back to fake passports.
Yeah. And you said South Korea. That's
South Korea, absolutely. Both South Korea and the Middle East. That is where Belize makes most of its money, off of the issuing of new identities and fake passports.
And you got those Iranians thrown in the mix.
Absolutely. Well, that's Middle Easterns again.
That was the same deal, but on the plane. Meanwhile, while we're worried about that, I mean, literally, they're not crazy enough to actually start a war with Russia, are they?
Well, why not? I mean, why let them get more powerful? That might be some thinking. Again, I'm an adamant opponent of war. However, the military-industrial complex cannot survive without it. Think about it.
And I guess they're saying Al-Qaeda is not the threat. That's our new ally in Syria. So they say domestic groups and the Russians are the new enemy. And
who are the domestic groups? You and I?
Yeah, they say libertarians, returning veterans, gun owners, basically old-fashioned men and women. I mean, just people that don't want to be total slaves. We're bad.
Well, I guess we have...
Bad John McAfee.
I'm as bad as I get.
Both of us tell me he's bad. Bad, bad, bad.
You just called me Satan earlier, I think, didn't you?
I was just joking. No. You do. I literally, it just clicked earlier. The archetypal handsome devil pops up when you look at John McAfee. I'm sure you've heard that before.
I have, yes.
Yeah, I mean, no. If I was a Hollywood Central caster and I was going to come up with the devil, it would be John McAfee. But he's not actually a devil. Because, see, folks, the devil doesn't really look like the devil looks in Hollywood. The devil looks more like, Hillary Clinton. No, I've noticed it more innocuous. The devil doesn't actually show up looking like the archetypal handsome devil. The devil shows up like a nice little old lady who wants the moral high ground. And, oh, Sonny, can you help me? Can you let me run your life or you're a bad man? The devil tells you you're a racist if you don't turn your guns in. The devil accuses you and tells you you shouldn't have freedom. And then all these movies twist it to say the devil wants to give you freedom, like Al Pacino's Devil's Advocate. I want to empower humanity. I'm a fan of humanity. BS. The devil wants to enslave, not empower.
Well, if the devil looked like the devil, we would not get close enough to become ensnared, would we? Exactly.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very clear. Let's talk to Peter in New York. Peter, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Wow, it's a thrill to be participate in your discussion here. I am a little bit. I have a problem with Mr. McAfee's sort of demonization of Hezbollah. I think it's far more likely that the British are up to shenanigans there in Belize than Hezbollah. Hezbollah, it's a resistance movement engaged in national defense. They do not come over to the Western Hemisphere.
All right, let me stop you. Let me stop you, sir, because I'm going to say something. I want John to say something. I'm not anti-Iran. They invite me on Iranian TV every week, and I'm too busy to do it. National television, okay? Let me explain something. I'm against attacking Iran. I want Iran to be able to have power and be able to have refineries and be able to have a good culture, okay? But the head of the Iranian military said we have asymmetrical warfare capability in the U.S., sleeper cells. So he made that threat, and I have changed my stance towards Iran a lot with those type of statements coming out because I don't want to have World War III. The Iranian government stands to gain from conflict, just like the Russians. Putin's going to get more powerful out of the West messing with them. I don't want war. I'm not saying Putin's good or the U.S. is good or Iran's good. These governments all tend to act the same, John.
Okay, in terms of the, you don't believe the Hezbollah thing, there are documented reports in newspapers throughout Mexico and Belize of Hezbollah agents being arrested with Belizean passports.
What does he say about the Iranian military commander, their Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman, saying we have sleeper cells? Are you denying that?
I'm saying Hezbollah is strictly a resistance.
No, I know Hezbollah is their militia armies in Lebanon and places. I understand that.
It's engaged in a national. It's defensive. It's not an offensive force. It's strictly defensive.
Well, when they arrested him, they had Hezbollah literature and stuff. But I mean, obviously,
no, they were well-known Hezbollah agents, and if you want to go and Google it, simply Google Hezbollah Belizean.
Listen, if I'm going to infiltrate the U.S., I'm not going to send regular army. I'm going to send underground commandos. That's the kind of people that know how to infiltrate. It's people that have been fighting and beating the Israelis in Lebanon. I'm not going to send a regular Iranian army officer.
So again, I'm not going to argue one way or the other. I'm just saying, Google it yourself. Find out the truth yourself. I mean, I can tell.
You're not anti-Iranian, are you?
Absolutely not. I'm not anti any generic thing. I am anti what's happening to me.
Of Hezbollah, it's a red flag for me. This is not right.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just telling you, if I was an Iranian general, that's who I would send. I mean, the Iranian general said, we have sleeper cells in your country.
Again, just Google it, sir, and if I am wrong, I will eat my shoe on television right here.
Well, there's News 5, who helped Hezbollah terrorists get Benghazi passport and IDs.
Belizean, there it is. That's one of them. So trust me, it's happening. I've heard it. I have documentation.
The head of their military said it on Iranian state TV.
Now, it may be wrong and may be hard to believe, but unfortunately, it's very hard even for me to believe what's actually happening.
That happens to me in my life. My life is so crazy and so weird. I don't tell people half of it because people wouldn't believe it. Truth is stranger than fiction.
I agree. My truth is, that's for sure.
Oh, man, I tell you. Peter, listen, we're not your enemy, buddy. But, I mean, did you see the report where the head of the Iranian military said we have asymmetrical groups in your country?
I don't believe that. I'm sorry.
Do you believe the photograph of the passport? Just read.
Hold on, sir. This is on Press TV. Guys, put it on screen. I want to give them the headline if you can find that. Thanks. Whatever. I appreciate your call. People call me still and go, I don't believe they have goats that are part spiders that produce armored milk. I mean, that's been out for 15 years. They just do not believe us. I just do not understand it. Stephanie in Iowa, you're on the air with John McAfee and company. Go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for doing everything that you do. Appreciate getting on. First-time caller. I do have a question about the app. I don't know. I got into the conversation late. So the app is coming out when?
It should be out in 5 days.
In 5 days. And you just get it from Google Play?
Google, absolutely. It's totally free.
Okay, perfect. And then exactly like, I don't have smartphones that I actually use. They don't have service or anything. So, but I'm just scared that they're still taking pictures or they can listen into conversations.
Well,
so it'll let me know all that stuff.
If you don't have a smartphone, you don't have much to worry about.
Okay.
If you have an Android phone, then you definitely need to run this app.
Yeah, because it's an Android phone, but no service on it, and there's an iPhone and no service on it, and tablets and.
Well, that may be a blessing in disguise.
Okay, perfect. And then I have a question or comment about that, the plane. I think that they were flying under the radar at like under 3,000 feet or 3,000 feet, and another country is probably wanting something on that plane or someone.
That's entirely possible.
And you can see, like, I watch the news, I'm like, I can see right through their lies, and they'll never say anything like that.
Well, if they knew some government was involved, they may be diplomatically deciding what to do, like Benghazi. Appreciate your call. Great questions, great points. Paul in Connecticut. We're moving quick now. Go ahead, Paul. You're on the air.
Hi, John. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Paul.
Look, I was told by an old OSS guy that you got your start at McAfee by actually creating the viruses and then having that software there to solve it. So kind of like a Hegelian, create the problem, have the solution ready.
Right.
If that's true, and I'd love to hear, I can't believe I'm actually talking to you guys, your response to that. But if that's true, I mean, I would be suspect to this new software that you have. Will your code be open for everyone to look at?
Well, we're not putting out source code. We're putting out an app. You're free to disassemble it and look at it yourself if you wish. But think about it. There were at the time thousands of computer viruses. Why would I spend months or have my team spend months?
Why would you build a fish hatchery when you got plenty of fish?
Right, you got more fish than you can possibly deal with. We could barely keep up with the viruses that were out there, so we certainly had no time to build new ones. And that would be senseless. And
hey, skip this network break. Skip this network break. Go ahead.
Okay, it would just be a senseless thing to do. So I can categorically say, and you can talk to any of the McAfee employees that were there at the time, that thought never crossed.
But see, that's those rumors. I always love it like, there's rumors you're really Bill Hicks, no proof, you son of a bitch, I'm going to kill you. Or there's a guy, an old OSS guy told me you were really making the viruses. I mean, again, we now know it's the FBI, it's the governments that are making the viruses to steal data and surveil everybody. It's never come out that virus companies are making viruses. Why would you ever do that? Because you would surely get caught. It came out the U.S. government with the Israelis made Stuxnet. You cannot hide this stuff.
Yeah, you'd make a lot more money writing the code to correct the real viruses that are out there. And when it first started, it wasn't the government's doing. When it first started, it was really just hackers throughout the world that were, you know, like people were just wanting to disrupt life because they had no life of their own.
Yeah, now it's cybercrime. I mean, there's a guy named Kaspersky who has this software suite. He's a Russian guy, former KGB dude. And this guy, he does a lot of research into all these viruses, and he's been at the forefront of exposing the things like Stuxnet, breaking it down, who put it together, you know, what does this code look like, and all the follow-ups that came out of that was Flame. There's been a couple other versions out there, and, you know, there's all kinds of people writing viruses all over the world, and now it's all about cybercrime and surveillance. It's government sponsored, you know, a lot of these things are up.
It's now the Chinese, Russian, U.S. government, NATO, EU. It's an all-out exploitation war. Brzezinski's argument is they even want to run the crime and run the money laundering so, quote, others don't get that market and blood supply. That's the argument for the system to run crime openly.
And we are woefully unprepared for what's happening.
Where's it all going, John McAfee?
Well, if we don't do something, it's going into absolute devastation for this country. Absolute.
Describe why.
Because all you have to do is destabilize the economy. For example, if you look at what's happened just in the past few months, 3 or 4 major retailers, large retailers. We've got Target. We have Neiman Marcus. Where
it's a whole bunch of them.
Where hundreds of millions of credit cards were stolen. Now think, what if they only managed to get $100 or $200 off of each one? Think what that's going to do to this economy. Think what it has done, perhaps, to this economy. And it's getting worse and worse. So
is that a state job, probably Russians or something with Target?
You know, I don't think so. I think it depends what we call by the state. In Russia, it's difficult to separate this.
Well, this mafia deep state.
Right. The mafia deep state, I think, is what's doing it.
Well, yeah. You know, when they take credit information, when they take money, I mean, those things to the consumer are very recoverable. You can clean up your credit, and you've got certain protections and things like that. No doubt, there's a big impact. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when these breaches happen, where they grab your username and your information, your username, your password, it's a well-known fact that something like 85% of people reuse their passwords everywhere. So if I've grabbed your password for Angry Birds or whatever, you know, there's a good chance that's part of your password, if not your actual password.
And that's the big issue. And we got guys saying, John, are you the one making the viruses? Which I don't think is a bad question. I'm not attacking the caller. Is he still there? You got any final comments?
It's a fair question.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, so you look, identity theft companies make money. They want to maybe go to an RFID and to the credit cards themselves. Another business opportunity there. So these are all problem reaction solutions too, in part. So I just wanted to know.
Oh well, I mean that's like an arms race, yeah, where they keep releasing the new weapons. I got to jump to other people. I appreciate your call, John McAfee. You're the problem. You just heard it. Let's talk to Jonathan in Florida. You're on the air. Go ahead.
How are you, Alex? How are you, John?
We're doing pretty good. Go ahead.
Okay, well, this is my area of expertise. I just want to say to the previous caller that Hezbollah, as well as the IRA and the Mexican cartel, actually do business together to try to gain forms of obtaining a weapon of mass destruction. So anything you hear to the contrary is quite the lie.
You're absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct, sir.
And I also want to say that as far as people, have you heard about the petition going around where people are being, here in America, or on our land, that are being obstructed with low pressure frequencies. You should make an application to help people in your own country before you do anything else in any other country.
There's all sorts of stuff to detect stuff like that. Very interesting. Thank you, Jonathan. We're going to move quick now. Rick in Nevada, you're on the air with John McAfee.
Yes, sir. Paul stole my thunder, but I'd like to ask you to consider making the Cognizant open source or free software, as free as in free code and free as in the free beer.
We will certainly consider that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew in Illinois, go ahead.
Good luck. God be with you, John, and with you, Alex. There's a lot of stuff coming down and in our country, and we're going to hopefully we get a pro-gun governor for Illinois. That's what we're looking forward to. I've already received a phone call.
Oh, there's a libertarian wave taking the country over. We're about to take over the Republican Party. That's why Obama might start a war with the Russians, to make him the hero, to get his whole agenda through. And that's why I just realized I got a bad feeling, and I've had one for 6 months, John. I think they may actually start a big war with Russia. I think we're in deep crap. What do you say?
You know, I have no information on that whatsoever.
But I'm saying, I mean,
it's a believable scenario, no question about it.
I just hope cooler heads prevail. What do you think, Andrew? They don't want us to take the country back.
I'm all for what you're doing, and I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. Speaking of planes, real quick, on the Kennedy plane downing, there was 2 911 stories in UPI and Associated Press about mid-air explosion. Once they found the debris field, they killed the story.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about JFK Jr.?
Yep.
They killed him deader than a hammer because he was going to probably run for the Senate and then president. There was no way he'd end up losing down the road.
That is true. Whether that actually happened, I do not know, but you are correct.
Oh, I remember going over all the evidence, man. They killed him deader than a hammer. Thanks, Andrew. Final caller, Raymond in California, real fast.
Oh, hey, guys. I remember you guys were talking about the software privacy issue, but I also read an article that there were 3G spy chips inside many electronic
Yeah, what about
devices.
Intel and all those guys that have chips that power up themselves?
Well, this is a serious problem. The question is what motivated them to do this? I suspect that there was serious pressure from one or more agencies within the U.S. government to do this, because this opens up everybody to every kind of spying. And
yeah, even if your computer's not wired in. What do they call that? Boxed or?
Yes.
So even if your computer's not, they can just energize it, suck it
and suck everything out. So, again, I have no specific information on this, and I hate to comment on things I know nothing about, but it certainly bodes ill for all of us.
Well, it's admitted, and it's incredible. Thank you so much, caller. Guys, great interview. Whoismcafee.com. And, of course, you can visit the site that's doing these reports, siliconangle.com. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. It was a great 2 hours of radio today.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. All right, folks. Lord willing, we'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News. Then I'll be back tomorrow with the Friday edition of the Worldwide Transmission. And then Sunday, I'll be in studio live, 4 to 6 p.m. Central with the Sunday transmission. I'm going to go have a cup of coffee with John McAfee and company. Great job to the crew. Until next time, if you're watching or listening to this transmission, you are the Resistance.